Welcome back to the Travel Punks podcast. Today's very special guests, Devlin and Lindsey Morrison, founders of Austin Body Collective. We discuss shitty Airbnbs, cuddle dancing, not shooting yourself, listening to your spleen, and how not to become Hitler even if you and Hitler share a birthday. Check out their brand new cutting-edge health, wellness, yoga, and dance studio at austinbodycollective.com. In addition to following our podcast, make sure to follow the Travel Punks YouTube channel, hit the bell icon so you get notifications of our new videos, follow the Travel Punks on Facebook, and on Instagram, follow @CreditCarson and @Paul Greenemeyer. All right, so Devlin and Lindsey Morrison of Body Collective. How are you guys?
Excellent.
Great. How are you?
Doing fine, thanks. Now, I want to start this off with a story. I didn't know you guys too well. I was invited to Jean's birthday, I assume due to some sort of clerical error. And I went. I was the very first person to show up. It was the worst, the most embarrassing thing. There was no one else there except for you and your boyfriend. But you were so nice. You made me feel welcome. And so I just kind of puttered around until the party actually kicked off. I didn't know Lindsey very well either, but you came up to me and you said, "What's your birthday?" Now, this is already sensitive territory to me because I'm sensitive about my star sign. I think you must have had to ask me several times, and I refused to answer because I refused to answer on general principle, but you would not let it go. And so finally, I gave you my birthday, you told Jean, and then you disappeared into the bedroom and didn't do anything. I had to ask you about it later. You left me the fuck hanging. And then you came out and you talked to me about it, and I'm kind of a skeptic about birthday readings, except I pretty much believe everything I'm told. So you came back and it actually has stuck with me a little bit. So tell me what you were doing with that, because I've seen you do it to yourselves and a number of people, and I think it's involved with Body Collective in some way. Am I right?
It is.
All right, let's hear it.
So the reason why we were asking you for your birthday information was to do your human design chart. Human design is basically a system that gives you information about how you interact with the world, your decision-making process, and just general information about how you function as a human being.
Yeah. We kind of use human design just to understand how best to interact with other people, and I think at the time we were both sort of getting into it a little bit more and experimenting a little bit more with just like, oh, who is this person? What can we know about this person? How do we relate to this person? And kind of experimenting with really like, do we believe this junk? Does it apply? Is this thing real? Because we're both pretty skeptical, but also interested in weird stuff too.
Have you gotten more credulous of it? More? Do you put more faith in it now than you did at the time, or less?
I think so. Yeah.
You think more?
I think more. We've done hundreds of charts at this point, maybe over 300 charts. We have a professional software that we keep a record and maintain all of our charts in. And the more that we do them, the more that we're seeing that there is a correlation between human design information and what's actually happening in the world.
Mm-hmm. Now tell me what you told me my human design profile was, because I remember hating it until you told me that it was the same profile as Barack Obama. And then I was marginally more okay with it. And I think, Lindsey, you told me that your human design profile, well, there's a lot of people that this system partitions into. I think it's 3 profiles. More than that?
There's more than 3 profiles. So you can have generators, you can have manifesting generators, you can have manifestors, you can have reflectors, and then the last one is a projector. Mm-hmm. So your profile is a projector.
I'm a projector.
Yes.
Right.
Or your type,
just
more
like Obama.
Yes, just like Obama.
In so many ways. I think we're similar height. He might actually be like just a hair taller, but you know what? At this point, I think I might weigh less.
There's no other defining characteristics at all.
Of
between you and Barack Obama.
Yeah,
You're basically
that's really the only difference.
Yeah.
We're basically the same person. And
Yeah.
Lindsay, you were telling me that there's lots of examples of each one, but of course your favorite one to bring up is that you have the same profile as Hitler.
I do. Yeah.
I don't even think you're half as bad as Hitler, to be honest.
Thank you. I really see it as like, you know, anybody can be really like living correctly or living very incorrectly, and that not in a good bad judgment dichotomy kind of way, but in a like following your inner authority or your inner truth. And Hitler is a really good example of somebody who was very damaged and lived a very incorrect life. I'm a splenic manifester, which is the same as Hitler. It's also the same as J.K. Rowling. I think she's a good example of somebody who
did it right compared to Hitler,
or you know, created something positive from her like power.
Right.
And for manifestors, we're about 9% of the population. Splenic manifestors are like all around like 1% of the population.
And I'm going to want to get into how we're talking about the spleen, the organ, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to want to hear more about that, but continue, please.
Yeah. So we are a very small portion of the population. Our function is to initiate, to start things, to just like go and do stuff. And basically the rest of people are supposed to wait to respond, wait to be invited. And yeah, and our what's called our not self theme is anger. And
not self theme?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not self is like if you're living incorrectly, if you're living according to your conditioning rather than like who you truly are and following your authority, that's your tendency. So the sort of the negative tendency for manifestors is anger. And the positive is peace. We live in this like anger peace dichotomy.
Which one am I?
You're a splenic projector.
And what's my positive negative dichotomy?
So when you are living within your correct self, when you are following your splenic authority, you will be successful in the endeavors that you choose. And then if you are following incorrect invitation, or if you're not following invitation, that you might experience bitterness. And this bitterness might come by either blaming yourself, feeling like you're not good enough or you're not doing the correct things for yourself, or depending upon the channels that you have activated in your chart, you could blame others for your circumstances.
I really hope my dad's not listening to this right now, because I'm going to be into some fucking I told you so's because of this. Yeah, like I said, I'm a skeptic, but I'm a credulous skeptic, which I know is an oxymoron, where I'm like, really, birthdays? Are you kidding me? But then you say that, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like me. And it's funny because you say that, Lindsay, you were saying that your profile is an initiator, and you were telling that my profile was more of an acceptor, that I need to be invited like some kind of vampire. And I'll tell you what, not something that I would fight against from a gut level, because a man is supposed to initiate. We all know that that's kind of bullshit, but in the culture, you know, man is assertive, man is active, man is aggressive. And to be like, I need to be asked or invited before I can do something right is not the way things are supposed to go.
Well, and I think that's part of the conditioning that we're talking about here. Everyone is conditioned to believe that they just need to go out and do it. They just need to push hard. And if they're experiencing frustration or anger, that it's just this mountain that you have to overcome. But really, the reality of the situation is that that's information for you to understand that you're doing something that's actually incorrect for you in your life. And there's a better way to live. There's a better way to experience life. You don't have to be frustrated. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to be bitter or disappointed. Like, there's the opposite side of the coin. And then there's like this, I don't know, for me, when I recognized what my inner authority was and how to follow that, which I'm a sacral generator, I learned that I could surrender into my authority, and that the things that come to me are going to be correct for me, and I'm going to experience a lot less suffering in this life if I just respect it.
I'm all about less suffering. You said sacral. That's part of the spine, right?
So it's
related to
part
the
of
spine?
your lower chakra system. So if you think of like your root chakra, that is...
Is that the asshole?
No.
It's not anatomical, it's energetic.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you think of it as like a gut response.
Okay.
For me, I have truth in the moment. So you ask me a yes or a no question, I can give you a yes or a no or a maybe answer. And if I get a maybe, then that means I don't necessarily have clarity on it, or I need to wait it out to see what my true answer is going to be. So I just don't move until I know, yes, I need to go do this thing. No, I don't need to go do this thing.
Mm-hmm. And to take it back to the initiator and an acceptor, that reminds me of when I really didn't know you very well. We all do kizomba dancing, which is how we all met. And you must remember this, where I was just fucking all stuck up, and not in like a rude way, but I was feeling bad at the dance. I was very new at the dance, and it was very common. And this was true in tango, which I've been doing for years now, and I feel a lot more confident with. But kizomba, not at all at the time, still not right now. But you wanted to dance with me, or you asked me to dance, and I'll tell you, kizomba never been a dance where I get asked to dance so much. And that was true in Japan too. Like, no one asked me to tango, and everyone asked me to kizomba. Not because I don't think it's because I'm special, but maybe everyone recognizes that I'm a splenic projector. I don't fucking know. But you sat down next to me and would not get up until I danced with you. And you waited with me for like 5 songs. You were deliciously stubborn. And I was like, all right, this is my new good friend. I was really happy about that. And understanding, even just from you saying that, letting myself off the hook from the like, go, 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 just a mountain you have to overcome, made me enjoy the experience of being there and dancing if I wanted to, or not dancing if I didn't want to, or feeling like I was being asked or feeling invited. It made me enjoy that a lot more, and it did feel like less suffering. And when people are telling you that it's just a mountain you have to push through, they're usually trying to sell you a $2,000 online mentorship anyways. So
$2,000, come on. You know,
did I underprice you?
Not me,
Lindsay?
just, the internet. No, and it's interesting for me as a manifester in dancing, because I'm supposed to be the one to ask, right? I'm supposed to be the one to initiate. And it
according to
my human design profile.
your profile, and not according to dance floor etiquette.
Right, because I am female, right? And the thing about the initiating or waiting to be invited or waiting to respond is that it's not about like how you feel. It's not about being happy or not being happy. It's about entering into something in a way that's energetically correct for you. So for me to enter into especially big things, and for you especially big things like a job or a relationship or an activity, I need to initiate and you need to be invited. And so if you initiate a relationship, like if you truly initiate that, it's going to not be truly correct for you.
You're killing me, Lindsay.
But if
not
I
because
don't,
I dislike it, but because I'm thinking back to all my past relationships and being like, is that what the fuck went wrong?
right? But for me, if I don't initiate, it's not going to be truly correct for me. And so for me, looking back and going like, oh, all these like people that chased me or asked me out or initiated with me that shouldn't have been, it was never going to be correct for either of us.
How funny.
I mean, or super devastatingly sad, and how much time did I waste? But, both can be true.
So how does the spleen and the sacrum get involved?
So I think Lindsay has a really great example of how the spleen functions based off of a recent road trip that she was having with her mom. So that one, the story is a little intense, but I think it gives you a clear indication of how the spleen can override the body. And the function of the spleen is truly to keep you safe. So
Is that a podcast question?
Or
a podcast story?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the spleen is truly, it's an immune response, and it's your body. Like energetically, spleen is the whole body. And so Jean as a sacral authority will feel in her gut a yes or no, like positive or negative sensation. She hears herself saying yes or no. The spleen, which is, you're also splenic, is truly, it can be a whole body thing. Like a good example of a splenic response is if you have a bee buzzing around you, you don't think about it. You just your body reacts. Your body is like, something is unsafe. I need to take care of that. My sort of intense story was I was driving with my mom. We were going out to run errands and get in the car, and she lives in Albuquerque, and get in the car. We have 2 things we're going to go do. And I had like logically in my head planned which was coming first because I wanted to get that out of the way and then do the other thing. And I get in the car and I have this full-blown vision of crashing in this very specific place on the freeway. It's like 2 freeways, and it was the second freeway we were going to be on. And I immediately was like, wow, Lindsey, you're freaking out. You're dealing with death too much right now. Like, get over it. Just, and the thing about human design is it's all about listening to the inner authority rather than the mind. The mind is not our friend. The mind is for other people. The mind is for things we have to contribute to others, not making our own decisions, which is really hard because we're taught to like think things through and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I'm trying to think myself out of this like intense visual vision I had, which I don't usually have, like visual things.
That you're going to get into a car crash in a specific place.
And we're both going to die. Yeah. I mean, it was intense. Wow. It was super intense. And so I'm driving, and my mom goes, out of nowhere, she goes, the first time I knew something bad was going to happen was when I was in 9th grade. Out of nowhere. And I'm like, what?
Mom?
So she tells her a little story, and my mom is a really intuitive person, and sometimes things come out of her mouth and I'm just like, wait, what? And I'm like, okay, still trying to talk myself out of being freaked out about something, because I'm like, okay, this is fear, like this is not real, blah, blah, blah. Get on the first freeway, and I feel like there's a hot poker stabbing into my eye out of nowhere, like blinding pain. My vision starts getting a little funky. My mom's still rambling about something else. I don't know. I was like, I have a headache. What the hell? Like, and finally I was like we were going to go out to the reservation, and then we were going to go to Target. And I was like, okay, we're going to Target first. And my mom's like, okay. And I get off the freeway, and immediately my body let go. My head started feeling better. I could like take a deep breath again. So for me, I know really when I can take a deep breath that it's okay.
So do you think that by stopping at Target, you avoided the circumstances that would have created the accident?
Yeah, we ended up avoiding that entire part of the road and everything.
Did you tell your mom about that beforehand?
I didn't tell her. I never told her about it.
Wow.
I was, because, I
wonder if she's listening to this now. Hi, Lindsey's mom.
She would go, oh my God.
Your daughter saved your life, so...
Maybe, probably. But that's the thing, because like even now in my head, I'm like, oh, that was probably like just me freaking out and bullshit. But like, what if it wasn't?
I mean, I firmly believe that it wasn't. Mostly because even within my sacral response, which is slightly different from a splenic response, I can feel in my body when something is not safe. I can feel in my body when I'm not supposed to go do something. And I'll feel this building of tension that becomes really intense, and my body will literally stop itself in its tracks and be like, no, you're turning around and you're going away. You're not going here. You're not going to talk to this person. You're not going down this alley. And I also have the spleen defined in my chart, which means that I do have a splenic response, but it doesn't necessarily override my authority, which is my sacral response. So the feeling of your body choosing something for you is pretty similar, I think.
The spleen is a profound safe or not safe. And you can't logic it. You can never explain it. It's just, if you're safe or not safe. And the second you start trying to override that with the mind, or for me, a big like trigger word is should. Like, oh, but I should, or oh, I'm supposed to be doing this.
Yeah, I have a few of those. Yeah,
and that's when you just have to be like, wait, what? Wait. No. And notice when you do something because you should, when it doesn't pan out well for you.
I think a good example of that is when you say, well, I should go to this party. I told this person that I'm going to go to this party, but I don't really feel like going to this party right now, but I'm going to force myself to. And then
I need to stop. All right, we're back.
Brilliant. Thanks.
Sorry, you were talking about the splenic response for a party?
Mm-hmm. Or just when you're trying to tell yourself that you should go do something.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I lost the spread. I had a technical difficulty, so we're going to have a little glitch in the matrix, but please go ahead.
So Lindsay and I like to tell each other, please don't should yourself. So the example that we were giving is you say to yourself, oh, well, I should go to this party because I made this commitment to this person, but you physically in your body, you don't feel like going. Like you are physically feeling either tired or you're just feeling a no or whatever the reason is. The moment that the mind gets in the way and you start telling yourself, well, I should go to this thing, and then you go, and that's horrible. Like you're exhausted, and then there's this ripple effect for the next day where your day doesn't go quite as planned or not really planned. Just it doesn't go nearly as well. That is the time when you need to reflect and be like, wow, did my mind make that decision for me, or did my body make that decision for me?
I mean, if you think about it, like from a purely like, I don't know, Jeff Goldblum perspective, it's a chaotic system, right? So we don't know, like going to the party, showing up somewhere where you're like, wow, I'm not supposed to be here, but for some reason I'm here. And cool shit happens. You meet somebody, or you have a conversation with somebody that shifts the direction of your life. You're invited into something big, right? Or not going to the party and you end up running into somebody somewhere else, or somebody calls you and you wouldn't have picked up the phone. Like you just don't know, but your body knows.
So there's a deeper wisdom that lies in listening to your body versus allowing your mind to dictate what your day is supposed to be like.
Mm-hmm. That applies to one of my favorite Kizomba stories again, which, well, I mean, it wasn't actually in Kizomba, but a female Kizomba dancer that we all know, who was the one who actually got me into it, told me, you know, sometimes, and she's not a super advanced dancer either, but she's a great dancer in a number of disciplines, and she's good at Kizomba too. And she was like, you know, sometimes I drive down to the studio or the lesson or the dance, and I'm sitting in my car. I got my shoes, I got everything. I get to the event, and I'm like, nope. And I turn right back around.
Yeah. Sometimes I walk in and I'm like, and I walk back out. I had one night at a social where I showed up, and it was very much like, I need to get out. I was feeling down. This will make me feel better, all those things. And I show up, and I was so anxious the entire time. I was like, immediately walked in and I was like, I don't want to be here. And then I forced myself. I stayed. I ended up getting sick the next day.
You're kidding.
So I was like, oh, obviously, like.
And it's hard though, because I don't know if this is cultural noise or how it relates to what you're talking about. And Jean, you were addressing some of this a little bit, but I feel like it's worth coming back to, because there's a real strong notion that growth happens outside of your comfort zone. And so I wonder, when we're talking about the pushing of your comfort zone or a signal from your body that this is the wrong choice.
The body doesn't always signal you into your comfort zone. That's the thing, right?
Yeah?
Absolutely.
I heard you, but please expand.
So I'm going to give a very specific example of this. And it's where I'm currently being pushed out of my own comfort zone. It's not something that I would necessarily do or seek out. And yet here I am, and I'm about to go do it. I was recently invited to make a dance video with some other really high level dancers. And I have experience, but I think in my mind, I don't necessarily put myself on their level. And yet here I am being asked to go do this thing. And my sacral says, yes. It's like, oh yeah, you're going to go do this thing. And now I'm like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. What am I about to go do? But it's correct, because my body said it was correct. And so even though I feel mildly uncomfortable, and I know that I'm going to be training because I feel driven to train, I feel driven to learn more, I feel driven to take myself to a different level with my dancing than I have previously, like that's being pushed out of my comfort zone. if I were just by myself, I may not necessarily have chosen to go do that. And so that versus going up to somebody and trying to initiate a conversation, or trying to go to a party or go to a social circumstance that I'm not supposed to go into, where I'm not going to feel accepted, or not necessarily listening to my body when it says, hey, yo, something behind you feels like it's following you, and so maybe you should go left instead of right. Like, that's the difference. The difference is like, okay, safe, not safe. Yes, I should do this thing. No, I shouldn't do this thing. You will feel it in your body that when you're on a trajectory of growth, it's still going to feel positive for you. But when you're
uncomfortable,
it can be uncomfortable.
And the mind is still telling you you're not good enough, and what the hell are you doing? Like, sure, they invited you, but they don't really know you, so they don't, like it's the mind chatter that keeps you in the box, not your internal response. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, truly. Like, sometimes I just because I'm here to initiate, right? So I notice myself like contacting somebody, or like talking to somebody in a bar or in a restaurant, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? What business do I have doing this? And I don't know, but cool shit happens. It just does. It keeps happening. So, it's cool.
Tell me a little how this relates to Body Collective.
So I think within Body Collective, we are being very conscious of how our instructors function as human beings. So by knowing what their type, their authority is, we can better gauge their energy levels, better gauge how they want to be communicated with, the things that they're going to need on an energetic level, and also just kind of like witnessing them in their process and noticing when people are committing, when they don't actually need to commit, or when they're doing something because of like people-pleasing tendencies, or what I like to call not self-heart theme, which is like overcommitment. So there's these little cues that you can listen to when you're interacting with a person, by seeing their chart, by knowing what their potential not self themes could be, and then also bearing witness to when those might be occurring with them, and kind of giving latitude and respect to who they are and how they function as an individual.
Mm-hmm. I mean, on a bigger scale perspective, Body Collective is happening because of our experiment with human design.
Yeah.
Like, I would be far too terrified to do this if I didn't know it was profoundly correct.